bloodbath tonight in the rural town of Chinook.
Everyone here is hiding a secret.
4 more victims found scattered.
Some worse than others. I came as fast as I could. I'm Deputy Ruth Vogel. And soon, my quiet life will never be the same.
Realm presents a 30 Ninjas production, Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't you love it when you find a new podcast you really like? Well, let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm Mike Carruthers, the host, and in every episode, you'll hear fascinating information that will make your life better from top experts. Recently, we've done episodes on why you have the personality you do, the science of luck, and the psychology of a restaurant menu. You're going to like Something You Should Know. We have literally thousands of 5-star reviews. Look for Something You Should Know wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you are listening to this podcast. And honestly, depending on where in the world you are, it's Kristin. I have a couple of announcements. One is that there's been a slight schedule shift for the balance of season 2 of the X-Files. We were going 3 weeks on, 1 week off. For the last handful of episodes of the season, we're going to be going every other episode. There's a few reasons for that, and a couple of them I think you're going to be pretty stoked about. So stay tuned for more news about what's going to be happening in this feed as we get into the fall. Speaking of fall, your reminder that we are coming to Washington, D.C. for the first time ever. And that's not the only first. We are also, for the first time ever, doing a Halloween HOOTENANNY. We'll be gathering at the Miracle Theater in Washington, D.C. on October 27th to talk about all 3 of Buffy's Halloween episodes. There'll be a costume contest. Jenny and I, as we've discussed, will be bobbing for apples on stage. It's going to be a hoot, which will also, of course, include a nanny. October 27th, Miracle Theater in DC, bufferingcast.com/live for all the information and tickets. One other quick thing before we go into today's episode. I pronounced the name of this week's elephant the way that they pronounced it in the show, Ganesha. That is not the correct pronunciation. And a much more common pronunciation is Ganesha. So you'll hear me say it wrong in the episode itself, but this is me correcting that up top. Onwards we go to Fearful Symmetry.
Mulder, if you're still suggesting that the elephant did this, it just defies logic. Somebody would have seen it.
Well, if somebody would have seen it, Scully, we wouldn't be here. Another vehicle would have left evidence of a collision, distress to the metal or paint. I can see signs of neither of those things. I'd be willing to admit the possibility of a tornado, but it's not really tornado season. I'd even be willing to entertain the notion of a black hole passing over the area or some cosmic anomaly, but it's not really black hole season either. If I was a betting man, I'd say that it was
An invisible elephant?
I saw David Copperfield make the Statue of Liberty disappear once.
Ex-Files. That's the eX-Files, a buffering rewatch adventure where we're watching and discussing every episode of the X-Files, one by one, spoiler-free. They don't pay me to dance, Kristin, even though they probably should. I'm Jenny Owen Youngs, ex-wife of Kristin Russo, and I grew up watching the X-Files.
And hey, Jenny, if that's Agent Scully, will you let her know that I've been working out? I'm actually... I'm Kristin Russo, and I am the ex-wife of Jenny Owen Youngs. I've only seen 42 episodes of the X-Files.
A very good number. Ooh.
A very good number. The
Sounds
very
so
age
strong.
Of Jennifer Youngs.
Yeah. Sounds like something that's like peaking, but will continue to peak for the rest of its
it actually it peaks just the year after, always, actually.
Well, we'll see.
One year after.
We'll see.
Today we're talking about season 2, episode 18, Fearful Symmetry, the most poetic title to date.
Fearful Symmetry was written by Steve Dejarnat. Dejarnat? I am not sure, but it was directed by James Whitmore Jr. and originally aired on February 24th, 1995.
Do you recognize this name? James Whitmore?
He directs some Buffy?
Yeah, but I like literally was like, I know this name. He must have directed Buffy. And I was right. And I very rarely, except for Nick Mark, who has a very memorable consonant layout in his name. Yeah, you want to hear the Buffy episode he directed?
Yeah.
I Only Have Eyes for You. Heard of it?
I have.
Dead Man's Party, your favorite song ever.
Yay.
Beauty and the Beasts, Gingerbread, and the Zeppo.
Wow.
Also a pretty good list of Buffy eps. He also directed Reprise over in the Angelverse. Good
Fantastic.
Stuff. Yeah.
Fantastic.
According to IMDb, this is the one where, in a small town in Idaho, a man is killed by what seems to be an invisible elephant. Mulder's investigation into the local zoo, its owners, and a local animal rights group uncovers evidence of insidious alien experiments. This is my shit. Honestly, I sign up. I sign on the dotted line. Give me more Fearful Symmetries.
Okay. Oh, okay. It's like that.
I'll explain more. First, give the lowest of all scary rankings from LaToya.
Well, this episode received from special agent and producer LaToya Ferguson a scary ranking of 1 out of 5 very big, very willful animals. This wasn't scary, LaToya says. I spent an early part of the episode wondering if it was the inspiration for the CBS show Zoo, and mentally cracking Zoo and Robin Williams edition Jumanji jokes. LaToya also notes, when she saw the truck driver looking at the elephant in the mirror, I said to myself, this is some picket fences shit, because there's literally an episode where a man rides into town on a stolen/liberated elephant in picket fences. LaToya thought perhaps this was the same elephant actor. I did a little digging, and the elephant who appeared on picket fences was named Ty. Oh. The elephant who appears in this episode is Bubbles.
Bubbles. I looked for Bubbles the elephant, and I have to tell you, it turns out there are actually many elephants.
Inconclusive.
many elephants named Bubbles. So
yeah.
Cool. Big thoughts on this episode, Jenny?
You know, I feel like there might be one piece of missing information. There's a missing link, Kristin, and it's, okay, aliens abduct zoo animals to impregnate them because they're endangered species, and it's hard for them to reproduce in captivity.
Well, maybe it isn't hard for them to reproduce. The aliens just keep taking the babies, but
also
sure.
That the aliens have in spite of the incredible technology that the aliens have in their grasp that they're using for all of these inseminations, etc., and abductions, their GPS is a little funky, and they keep repeatedly return the animals to not exactly where they got them from.
And also invisible.
And then that's so like all of that is like, okay, but then why are they like invisible for a little bit?
I think
your thoughts?
Here's how I reasoned it through. I thought, okay, the aliens clearly they've done a lot with humans, so they probably have calibrated all of their systems based on humans. But then they've got these big tigers and elephants, different kind of physical composition, different size. And so they're just a little wonky. I think the time-space continuum returns them both in the wrong location and temporarily invisible.
Okay. Not good enough.
Listen, I had so much fun with this episode. It did, and I think LaToya mentioned this in her notes too, it did the same kind of thing that Darkness Falls did with the environmental terrorists or whatever they were called.
Yeah, like we could have a message. We could have, something that we'd like to get you to think about. But instead, we'll just sort of like villainize the people in the episode who are actually concerned with the welfare of animals or the environment, etc.
It was such a bizarre. I'm like, do I know who Dana Scully is? Is like how I'm starting to feel, because like we had Fresh Bones where she was like, oh no, a black person, and then in this episode she was like, oh, were they liberated? And I was like, I feel like it's not a big stretch to say that animals in cages is like a bad thing and advocating for animals to not be in cages. Like, it was confusing to me because clearly to write some of this, you have to have deep respect for animals that are brilliant, like elephants and gorillas and all of these beautiful animals. You're showcasing that they're in tiny little cages. So like, but then like the Kyle of it all and this like animal rights organization were like moderately, like they weren't like totally villainized, but they were like moderately villainized. It was just really confusing. And Scully, we'll get into the minutia with Scully, but I was just like, Scully, what is your deal here? Why are you so mad at the animal rights activists? You cried when you shot that snake on accident, Scully. Remember your roots.
Oh, maybe she's just like working overtime to convince herself that she actually is much tougher.
She's tough.
She's the little girl who shot tough as nails.
Oh my God.
Okay. So here we are.
But I did, but despite that, despite the lack of message that I did wish for, I did still enjoy this animals from the zoo gone invisible. Like I was like, this is fun. Like it was just it reminded me of a fun Monster of the Week Buffy episode.
Yeah. We're making television. We're having fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to make sense. Don't ask any questions.
The title, I mentioned the title of this episode is very poetic. It comes from a poem.
Yes. Do tell us, poet laureate of the pod, Kristin Russo. Tell us all about the origin of this title.
This comes from a poem by William Blake called The Tiger. It's spelled like, like a feminist woman might spell women.
So it's tiger spelled WOMYN.
Yeah. TYGER. Do you want to read the line that this is pulled from, Jenny? I'm the erotic poet laureate, but you are the songwriter. So
okay. Let's see. It goes, tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry?
Symmetry.
Am I supposed to say symmetry?
Symmetry. The title of this episode is actually Fearful Symmetry. You heard it here first. All right, let's go to Idaho. I've been to Idaho twice. My observations, the food is good and the boys are cute.
Oh.
That's my takeaway from Idaho.
All right.
And I think part of my point is proven immediately because we get these two guys. They're janitors. They're working, cleaning the floor as though they work in the restaurant The Bear. They are scrubbing the grout.
Kristin.
Yes.
Kristin.
Yes.
Kristin.
Jenny.
As a former serious and now sort of, I guess, regular but very, very, very conservative smoker of cigarettes.
Yes.
Can you tell me, I don't care how clean
I know
you have made the floor of something, would you ever put a cigarette you were in the middle of smoking filter side down?
No, I could conceive of a reality.
The floor?
No. And I really lost it when I first saw this because I didn't connect it to the fact that he had just cleaned the floor. But still, even if I had just cleaned the floor at most, and I'd probably would have had to have a drink prior to this to soften my germ phobia, I would put the cigarette just down, flat. It's a horizontal on the ground. So at least just a tip of the filter was touching the clean floor. Not the literal mouthpiece of the cigarette, but I guess they really wanted to give us the Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park puddles walked so this dancing cigarette could run.
And it does. It does quite literally run across the floor.
Did you happened to notice that when this gentleman, when the two guys are like looking out the window and they're all like, one of them crosses himself, but he goes up, down, right, left.
First?
Yeah, his right, then his left, which sent me on a little bit of a hunt.
Oh.
And just in case anybody else noticed this and you were stressed out, let me let you know that while American Catholics go left, right, Orthodox Christians go right, left. And I think there may be some like more Eastern European Catholics who go the opposite way. There like might be like subsects.
Right.
I think the word Byzantine is like coming to mind, but now I can't remember what it is that I read.
I would love if Catholics where they drive on the left side of the road go left, right, but Catholics where they drive on the right side of the road go right, left. If that was the divide. So
England and Australia?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
This is a really cool scene, and I I was surprised to not find a lot about how these effects were done.
Aren't you shocked that there isn't like a paragraph where Chris Carter is fondly recalling the delightful time had by all putting together this scene?
Yeah, it's really cool, and like usually
looks great.
We look in all of the like basic places like the fan wiki and the regular wiki and IMDb trivia and like those places, and then LaToya's got like a couple of books that she goes through, and it was surprising that there wasn't more on like how these effects were done. But either way, great job with the invisible elephant, in my opinion. I thought that this looked exactly like an invisible elephant stomping through town.
Well, maybe the reason that nobody's talking about it is because they actually used an invisible elephant. Yeah. For this part
highly
of the episode.
Classified. The X-Files of the X-Files.
Yeah. The XXX-Files. Oh, wait. Sorry. The XXX. How many is for sex? 3?
3 is for sex.
I like that
I didn't know what 1080p was, but you don't know what XXX
Well,
is.
I just I couldn't, because there's like a Vin Diesel film franchise called XXX, which is a little confusing, you know. I got my wires crossed, but don't worry, I'm all squared away now.
Great. This invisible elephant runs off to a construction site next, throws a construction worker to his death. His spine, I'm sorry, what did he say? Shattered like seashells?
Remind me not to make any elephants angry.
They love to find hideous ways to describe deaths. Remember the last time there was like his head was hanging from his shoulders like a broken peony? Like, Jesus Christ, you guys.
Okay, and then in the wake of this, as the morning fog settles on the land, a gentleman is driving. I called this a Mack truck, but I guess it could be a semi or a big wheeler or something.
I got in trouble for
wheeler.
this not too long ago.
But does anybody? Oh yeah, what do you do? What do you
Avanti
call
would
it?
know the answer, but because that's who got me in trouble. I was like, a Mack truck. She's like, that's not a Mack truck. I was like, every truck is a Mack. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I just call big trucks Mack trucks, but that's not accurate.
So a man is driving a very large truck of uncertain origin and pedigree, and there's a thick fog on the road. In fact, it's so thick that he's on the radio telling somebody, this fog is so thick, it's going to slow me down. But you know what's really going to slow him down? The fucking elephant running directly at him at top speed.
This is a cool scene. This scene was specifically shot outside of Vancouver because Vancouver has very strict laws on using elephants for television, movies, etc. So this is like sort of a suburb where the laws are a little bit less strict. And this elephant also is named, so we talked about its actual name, it's Bubbles. But in the show, it's named Ganesha. And Ganesha is the elephant-headed god in the Hindu religion, son of Shiva and Parvati. So that's a fun name for this little elephant, and it's also an Indian elephant. Yes.
Like, is it a fun name or is it a little squiggly?
Well, listen, all I know is this. My Indian wife was excited that the elephant's name was Ganesha. And
Oh, she was like, I know him.
I know him, yeah. I know that guy. And also, it's an Indian elephant. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Listen, write in if you disagree with my take on this. But I was excited that the elephant's name was Ganesha over Bubbles. Okay, so first question about this elephant. Jenny, you have a child. If there was an elephant dying in the road, would you be standing there with your children who are weeping?
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
First of all, maybe, because I would be like, whoa, an elephant, But
her son is like sobbing.
That's very...
saying, is it going to die, mommy?
I cried so much watching this episode. Because elephants are beautiful and majestic, but also because of Willow's relationship with Sophie and like
and zoos in general. Zoos
in general are just like very
very awful.
It's very
yeah.
It's complex. And also I have a sweet baby boy who is very monkey-like at this current stage in his life, and the idea of being separated from him.
Oh, and he also speaks American Sign Language. He
does speak a little American Sign Language.
I want you to know that the first time I watched this, despite the elephant autopsy that happens, I was
surprised. It's actually a necropsy when it's an animal.
Oh, is it? Well, despite that, I still, when I watched it for my notes, was like, wait, the elephant died? Like, I, in my mind, erased it. That's how much I just, no thank you.
But also, why did the elephant die? Okay, later we see, like, Sophie is, like, hit by a car, but the elephant just is like, I'm good.
They said exhaustion.
Hey, for all of our elephantologists in the listenership, can you write it and let us know if you think an elephant who would, according to Kyle, traverse an area of 20 square miles.
Right.
I mean, maybe they had her on a treadmill on the alien ship. On the UFO. The alien ship. I don't know. I'd like to know more, but this episode doesn't want me to know more.
If we called UFOs alien saucer ships, we would just call them asses. So we go to the credits.
Why? Why? So
Jenny.
Oh wait, but this elephant makes a lot of meaningful eye contact with like the little girl with the lunchbox and the truck driver guy, right. And I love elephants. And look at it go. Okay.
Just before we leave this scene with the elephant, behind the scenes, there was some concern that the elephant would be reluctant to run towards this truck. But as it turned out, Bubbles loved the truck. The problem became keeping Bubbles away from the truck.
Honestly, just like another point for the zoo animals in this episode reminding me of my son. He loves running towards trucks.
Towards anything that could possibly harm him, yeah.
Also that. Yeah. Okay,
Jenny, have you ever caught a faint whiff of animal odor in the wind?
So, as someone who has worked on multiple farms and also at a dog kennel, unfortunately, yes.
This was a scrapped verse from Colors of the Wind.
Mulder is once again wearing my favorite coat. That's what I'm choosing to focus on, but it cannot distract from how horrific his hair looks in this scene. It is bad. In duckling mode to the extreme.
Yeah, it just keeps getting, honestly, like I thought we had hope for like a minute in this season and then we just crashed and burned. So we still...
Mulder's trying to sell Scully. He's like trying to feel out how, open she might be to the possibility of an invisible elephant, which is happening here. And she's like, That's absolutely not what's happening. That's nonsense. But then in short order, she'll be like, well, obviously, like several scenes later, she's like, obviously, it's an invisible elephant. And Mulder's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Not so fast.
Scully saying, we opened with this clip because obviously we opened with this clip. Scully saying to Mulder, an invisible elephant. And Mulder saying, I saw David Copperfield make the Statue of Liberty disappear once, is I think why I like this episode. Like, that's the kind of energy that makes me like this episode. You know, we're dealing with the Mulder and the Scully of it all. She doesn't believe and he believes and da-da-da-da-da-da. But it's really fun when you take it to this place of like, oh my God. And okay, you know, that's fun. Fun times. Oh my God, Willa Ambrose. What the fuck was the name of the guy? Wasn't his name Ambrose?
Ambrose Chapel.
I was like,
did you notice how? Okay, wait. Okay, a couple things. In solidarity, Scully's hair has decided to also look bad in this episode, which I thought was nice. Stand by your man.
Yeah.
We meet Ed Meacham. He works at the zoo. His boss is Willa Ambrose. When he says Willa Ambrose, Scully literally does a double take and is like, Ambrose?
Yeah.
She's like, well, that guy, there was an Ambrose Chapel. But the man who wrote this script didn't ever write any other episodes of the X-Files. So he clearly is just doing like spec script writing, is not tapped into the chronology or the names of...
It's just so weird to get, like, put it in the triple X-Files, you know? What the fuck?
The double X-Files, maybe?
Yeah.
We have some other stuff that can go in the triple X-Files.
Did you scream when you saw penguins swimming?
I did. I wrote in all caps, penguins!
Me
swimming!
Jenny, how many S's do you have on the end of penguins in all caps?
Just one.
Oh, I have 4 all caps penguins.
It's not a competition, Kristin.
No, I just wanted to see how in sync we were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jenny, what?
Willa Ambrose?
Mm-hmm.
The casting is a 100% spot on for woman who took a gorilla home from Africa and raised it as her own child in the 1990s.
1,000%. As is the costuming with this vest is 100%. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I love Mulder, like, sliding into this. Like, I'm not like other investigators. I'm not trying to, like, place blame, man. I'm just trying to find out what happened.
How did this elephant get out? That's all Mulder wants to know. So this is where things get a little muddy, right? We go to the pen where this elephant is kept. It's awful. It's like, I mean, Kyle says later, it's like, you know, you or I living inside of a pickle barrel. It's basically
and you can check in with Hank McClane about that if you need more details.
Immediately what I thought of. And this is where you're like, Willa is on the side of like good or at least better because she's there to create more humane environments for these animals than currently exist. They used to use tie downs. Ed Meacham this is a problem for me. Ed Meacham is supposedly this like villain, according to Kyle and the animal rights folks, and kind of according to Willa. But Ed Meacham, like, never actually gives villain vibes. Like, barely. He says, like, one thing after he shoots the tiger to save Willa's life. But it just was written weird because at least in Darkness Falls, the villain and the guy that hated trees, he fucking hated trees. You know what I mean? Like, he wanted to fucking chop down every fucking tree.
He was like, I wish I could use a whole tree, just a whole ass tree to wipe my ass instead of having to use just a little bit of it via toilet paper. That's how that man approaches trees.
I just wasn't sure until the end if it was even true because he just didn't give off evil hating animal vibes.
Yeah, it's not, I don't know. But
I mean,
hey, maybe he's a complex
I didn't know who
individual.
to trust and who to not trust. Something that I feel should be resolved by the end of the episode.
Not on this show, my friend. Okay. Apparently, Ed Meacham, though, doesn't like that Willa is a woman and his boss.
That I bought.
Believable, but I don't necessarily see the evidence. within the episode.
I think we see a little bit of evidence in the scene with the tiger where she gives him the order, he stands down, and then the thing he says after he shoots the tiger is, they don't all... Fuck, what does he say?
They don't all draw pictures and talk or something?
Yeah. He says, like, they don't all draw pictures and no sign language or whatever the fuck he says. It's really condescending what he says to her. It seems at least easy for me to believe that he's a guy who's like, this is our job. We work at the zoo. We give these animals the best we can. And also they're wild animals. So, like, what needs to be done needs to be done. Like, just one of those guys, like, clean, no gray area. Like, this is what you do. And that, like, he perceives her as this, like, oh, you gotta, like, basically how, like, the parents that raised us, how they perceive us as parents, right? Like, oh, you gotta let him talk about his feelings. Like, it's like that vibe, Like, okay, we would have just, like, yelled at you and punished you, and then it would have been fine. You're fine. I feel like is his energy towards Willa.
Yeah. This is where we hear about Kyle and the Wild Again organization, or as I like to call it, wow.
We have a song for that.
And with that, I would like to call for wow. Excitement unlocked. Wow. Holy shit, that rocked. Kristin, I recently discovered that unbeknownst to us, this song has had a little life on TikTok. Can you believe it? People have been making, like, gymnastics videos and shit using our little wow song.
Wow is a universal sentiment,
I know.
Yeah.
If only I had been thinking about this whole time, we could have a whole arsenal of universal jingles instead of jingles about women named Cordelia and green mugs.
I don't know. I mean, we've got
fruit punch mouth,
the patriarchy. We've got wow. Yeah. We've got white supremacy. We've got some universals. We've got some applicable to many scenario jingles.
Okay.
Hell math is still kind of applicable to stuff beyond the Buffyverse. Okay. Here's where Scully begins her turn. She's talking to Kyle, and he says this thing about living in a pickle barrel, and she says, and do you consider that inhumane? And, like, I understand.
When she had just been like, hey, I was just thinking this pen is awfully small for such a big animal.
Right.
Scully's all over the place in this episode.
I didn't know if they were writing it to be like, when you question someone, you probably have to be non-biased. Like, you probably can't say, like, yeah, it's really fucked up that they keep the animals in small pens or whatever. Like, you have to, like, let them.
Well, Mulder can say that.
Mulder,
Scully can't.
Yeah. You've been arrested, she says, for kidnapping animals. Kyle, I honestly really like Kyle because Kyle is just, like, not taking any of this shit. He's like, yeah, I have been. And no, I didn't fucking release an elephant who then later died. Like, what are you not understanding, Dana Scully? I'm here to, like, help and save animals. Why the fuck would I bring one into harm's way? Like, the theory doesn't even make any sense. I mean, she's saying it's because the zoo will be shut down if, like, a couple of bad things happen. But I just find it hard to believe that someone in Kyle's position would sacrifice 2 animals to close a zoo. That just seems insane.
Yeah. It goes against everything he stands for, Kristin.
It does.
Most things seem to go against everything he stands for.
I've called the other guy in WoW Eminem. I said it's Eminem, and then Avanti exclusively referred to him as Stan. So you can pick your name.
Yeah, let's go with Stan.
Stan is leering in the corner as Kyle is showing them videos of Meacham. This is another kind of question mark for me. Is they're saying they, like, need to catch him doing this now, and I'm like, but if you have him doing this, then why isn't one video of him being abusive to an animal enough?
Well, it seems like that video is from before Willa Ambrose became the head of the zoo, and they need to, like, confirm that her new methods are, like, not working, and therefore he's got to go.
I see.
Because she's way too distracted with her lawsuit to know what's going on at her zoo.
Yeah, the Malawi government wants to take Sophie, the gorilla that she's raised like a child, from her and return it back to Malawi. This is also a little confusing to me because I understand she doesn't want to be separated from Sophie, but when they have an exchange about this later, she's like, I don't want to let Sophie return to Malawi because she'll be caught by poachers.
But then they're like, the Malawi government has said she'll go to a preserve.
Yeah, so this is
and then Willa is like, she's mine. And that's like, ma'am. But also, they've been together for so long and they can communicate. It's like, so I can't.
It's hard.
Woo, it's like messed up.
It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
And also to your gorilla.
Yes. And I get it. But this is Kyle is right. Again, he has this quote where he says, like, humans have a craven impulse to turn animals into objects for our own pleasure. And I don't know. I mean, I would like to believe that if there was a better place for even my animals who I love, that my instincts would allow
Wouldn't
me.
you want the best for
because she's in like a cage and she doesn't even want to be in the larger habitat, which isn't even that large. Like, clearly she's not happy. And yes, it would be hard to say goodbye to Sophie, but also I'm like Team Kyle on this all the way because Willa, I understand it's emotional, but Willa is not making good decisions at least for Sophie in this episode of television.
Kyle's like, all animals should run free. And Scully's like, even if that means trampling a man to death. And Kyle's like, maybe he should have gotten out of the way.
That pissed me off too, because like clearly what Kyle is saying, Scully, is that they should run free in the wild, not in the streets of Vancouver. Like, Idaho, whatever. So she spots the camera and they leave. He says, it's all happening at the zoo, Scully, which is Simon and Garfunkel lyric. Scully's going to stay with Wow because she thinks they're going to try again to break something out and whatever. And Mulder's going to go, quote, talk to the animals, end quote.
Kristin, can I just share a little excerpt from At the Zoo by Simon and Garfunkel with you really quick?
Yeah, please.
Wow. First of all, the art for the single as like an illustration of a bunch of zoo animals and then also Simon and Garfunkel's heads on the bodies.
Oh my God.
Of, I think, a lion and a panda, it looks like.
Wow.
Okay, so verse 2. The monkeys stand for honesty. Giraffes are insincere. And the elephants are kindly, but they're dumb. Okay, fuck you.
Wow.
Orangutans are skeptical of changes in their cages. And the zookeeper is very fond of rum, okay? Zebras are reactionaries. Antelopes are missionaries. Pigeons plot in secrecy. And hamsters turn on frequently.
I'm sorry, what fucking zoo has a hamster in it?
And according to the proposed suggestion on Genius, this lyric means hamsters are known for hooking up frequently and only have sex on their mind.
Oh,
okay, be honest. Do you know any hamsters that love hooking up?
Well, I mean, my one intimate experience with fucking having hamsters, which is that I had 2 and they were named Thelma and Louise. And then I left and came back from school and one of them had a lot of babies. So they did hook up. So yes, this rings true. And that's when I became gay.
Congrats.
I was like, 2 women can have children together?
What an idea. You just need 1 Thelma and 1 Louise.
Yeah.
This is also like coming out of the WoW offices is where we get Mulder being like, but nobody saw an elephant. And Scully's like, wow, people's low light vision could have been impacted.
She's like, it could have been a tornado. You know what I mean? I love that Mulder earlier in the episode, like specifically is like, it's not tornado season. Stop telling me that the fucking frogs are flying around and now elephants because of tornadoes. Okay, so the animals that he's going to talk to are Frohicke and what's the other one's name?
Byers.
Langley is not around. I love the reasoning for Langley not showing up. He has a philosophical issue with his image being beamed via satellite. That checks out.
That absolutely makes sense. What do you make of their FaceTime rate being $150 an hour?
Well, I mean, like, we didn't have FaceTime or Zoom back then.
I know.
So.
I imagine if we had to pay $150 an hour every time we needed to tape an episode of this podcast.
Oh, my God. These podcasts would be so much shorter.
Yeah. 10 minutes. Let's go.
This is the moment for me and the Lone Gunman. This is our moment. I was like, I love them. I was like warmed when they were on screen. I felt like, oh, my friends are here. And so just noting that the Lone Gunmen have wormed their way into my heart. They know everything about the zoo. It has weird lore. There's animals escaping and disappearing. It's close to the Mountain Home Air Base, a major UFO hotspot. Ding, 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 ding. Fucking Mulder gets a boner. No animal has ever brought a pregnancy to term at this zoo. There's a gorilla. They even know about Sophie. She just got here, and they know about her.
I'm still reeling from you saying Mulder gets a boner.
I kept going so quick so that I couldn't give you time to respond.
Okay. Scully calls while Mulder's in the middle of this FaceTime, and she's like, I followed Stan into the zoo.
Yeah.
And he's like, cool, I'll be right there. But before Mulder can find her, Meacham finds her and is like, what you doing?
I would like to state for the record that 2 episodes ago, I believe, there was a Gregor, one of the clones, who got cornered in an alleyway by a chain link fence. And I said, those fences are made to be climbed. And you said, I don't know. They're probably hard to get your feet in. Stan, Scully, and Mulder all climb this chain link fence as though a nod to me, Kristin Russo. Yes, you can push your little toesies.
I'm not saying you can. I'm just saying it's hard.
It's hard, but 3 characters inside of 2 minutes scale this fence.
Okay.
It just made me feel better because I thought, what if I couldn't do this? And then when I saw all 3 of them do it, I was like, oh, I got it. I could do this. I could get over that fence.
Okay.
At the Halloween Hootenanny, do you want to have a chain link fence and we can race over it?
I do.
And the apples that we're bobbing for will be on the other side of the fence.
We should set up a whole sort of like Survivor-esque course of Halloween activities and tasks to complete.
Fucking Halloween Hootenanny gladiator style.
And there's a craft section like task where we have to use a paper bag, like a lunch paper bag, to craft, and some construction paper and glue and pom-poms to craft like who makes the better Halloween mask out of a paper bag. Let's find out.
You would definitely win.
I would win.
Yeah.
Okay. So much is happening. Scully is with Meacham. Mulder's scaling the fence. Stan is trying to let this tiger out. Oh, there's a cougar. Do you think that's the same cougar we saw in Shapes?
He's not trying to let the tiger out. Don't frame Stan. He's just trying to put his camera in there. He's not trying to let the tiger out. He's putting the camera there to catch Meacham being shitty to the animals. That's what the camera's for. He's not. Listen, Dana Scully.
Okay. You're right. He's just an unnamed character with no lines. It's hard to trust him. He sets up his little camera just in time. Wait, but so how does the tiger attack him then if he's not letting it out?
The aliens beam up the tiger, impregnate it, and then beam it back invisible.
Immediately?
Yeah, it's a time-space continuum.
Okay. All right.
It's just like Angel's Hell Dimension. Time passes in space way quicker.
Okay. Okay, so yes, the tiger comes back with a full womb. Listen, I feel like you're dodging my main question, which is, do you think this is the same cougar that we saw in Shapes?
Oh, probably. I don't know. You're better at cat expertise than I am, but if they look similar, maybe, yeah.
I mean, I didn't pull up, the other episode and compare, but
They
It did feel familiar.
They had a hard the difficulty with the tiger on set was keeping it warm. They had to keep it warm because it's in cold little Vancouver, and tigers don't like cold.
Oh no.
It's okay though. It's okay. Except it's not. Jenny, every animal in this episode dies. And Kyle. Like just whew. The penguins I think are still okay.
The penguins I maintain are fine for sure, but everybody needs to stop dying. Also, the gorilla is a person?
Yeah, the gorilla is played.
The gorilla has person eyes. Like the eyes really stand out as like, whoa, that doesn't look right. And then
but it's good. It's pretty
credited.
good. It's more believable. It's like I think a believable gorilla. There's one moment towards the end where it's like a full shot of the gorilla and it kind of looks like it has like a beehive hairstyle. Where I was like, okay, that looks like maybe like a costume, but for the most part, it looks like a gorilla.
We're like in agreement here. We're on the same team.
What would you do if you were framed for murder by a serial killer? I am retired FBI criminal profiler Candace DeLong, and my new series begins in the heart of a tropical paradise where a darkness lurks, a serial killer on the loose, and a community living in fear. Listen now to Natural Selection, Scott versus Wild Bill.
With your long-forgotten name, we call upon you. We call upon you. In the words of the unspeakable language, we call upon you. We call upon you. By the spilt blood of the wicked, who walk upon this world, sprouting the words of false idols, we call upon you. We call upon you. On the land of the dead harvest, that which brings the earth itself into your service, Yamal, we call upon you. We call upon you. We call upon you. We call upon you. Yamal calls upon you.
The Sprouting, a Call of Cthulhu actual play podcast by Blighthouse Studio. Find us on your podcatcher of choice.
The invisible tiger attack is caught perfectly on tape.
What are the odds?
It's so low, but it happened. It's just like the Blair Witch Project. You know, you never thought they'd find that footage and release it as a full feature film, but they did. Kyle denies everything. He doesn't know who Stan is. He doesn't know what the camera was for.
Yeah, all
Kyle
he knows is
alone
that he has a really nice roll neck sweater on.
Yeah, Kyle wins.
Mm-hmm.
So
Scully hates him so much.
She hates him so much. And then there's this like weird, I mean, it's intentional. It must be intentional. But I was like trying to figure it out because Scully is so mad. She fucking hates Kyle. And then her and Mulder like leave together. And she says like, that's a new scene. And she's like, I'm just so pissed off, or like whatever she says. And Mulder says, are you okay? And she says, yeah. And he says, have you calmed down? And she looks at him like, I'm going to fucking kill you. Like it's a real moment.
It is weird.
It's weird because like Mulder's not, at least we haven't seen Mulder be the kind of guy who would like say, maybe you should calm down, ma'am. Like he's kind of the opposite of that. So it just really clanged for me and I didn't understand its placement.
Also, she's like, I can't stand that guy. And he's like, are you okay? And she says, yeah. And he's like, have you calmed down? What? Like since a second ago?
Yeah. And why? Why do they have her hating Kyle so fucking much? Like, what are we missing here?
Well, Kyle does feel like he's like going out of his way to be like
difficult,
unhelpful.
Mm-hmm. So Mulder has the videotape as usual. There's no time.
He's uploading it to rotten.com.
Yeah. He might have somebody who can explain. We've been waiting for him to talk to Sophie for the whole episode. Let's go.
I love that he's like, I want to talk to somebody. And it takes a minute before Scully is like, they're at the zoo. And she's like, oh, this is who you wanted to talk to? The gorilla at the zoo? But of course it is.
Sophie's afraid of the light because she knows what's up. She knows that the animals are being taken, impregnated, returned, and then taken again where their babies are taken from them. She's drawn photos. She's drawn photos. That's where I'm at in my current state of being.
You're doing great.
She's drawn drawings. She has drawn drawings of her own womb with like a little gorilla fetus at the center. And, you know, Willa thinks it's because she wants a baby, but as Mulder cracks the case wide open, it's actually because she is pregnant and she wants to keep this baby. Papa don't preach. She's keeping that baby.
Mulder's like, this gives me an idea. Scully, it's the world's biggest autopsy bay.
He's like, it's like when you like buy your girlfriend like a single rose and you really have to outdo yourself so you can go to a dozen roses, and then you have to like, you know, like he's just is like, what can be bigger than what I've done already?
A dozen roses. Scully just hopping down inside this cavity.
Pulling up, this is the uterine tissue. It's like the biggest fucking piece of tissue ever known to man.
They confirm. Scully confirms the markers are there. The elephant had been pregnant.
Yeah.
There's elephant blood everywhere, most notably on both Scully and Willa's fucking faces.
Yeah. They're deep in there, you know, standing inside the cavity of an elephant. I was like not too traumatized by this scene because there were a couple of times where like a piece of elephant bounced to like styrofoam, and I was like, nice. Like I needed that for detachment, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so at yet another, something we've learned in this episode is that zoo animals specifically hate construction workers. I'm not sure why, but they hate a construction worker.
They have their reasons.
This tiger, I guess they're like, you know who builds cages? Construction workers. So they find another construction site. The tiger finds another construction site, and basically like all these construction guys are like hiding in the building from a tiger on the prowl. Meacham arrives with a gun with bullets. Willa arrives with a gun with tranq darts. Now, I do think it's standard practice in zoos to show up with a gun with tranq darts. I don't think that you go with a gun with bullets when you have zoo animals.
To all the zookeepers in our listenership, we'd love to know more.
Yeah. Sorry that we said zoos are bad. We don't judge you personally for being a zookeeper.
We celebrate you. It's just complicated.
You're probably trying to help zoos be better.
Yeah.
So
and
do
I mean, who among us has not been able to see an animal that they could not have ever seen in the wild and been like, whoa.
Totally. There just has to be a better way.
Also, what about net guns? What about guns that just shoot a little net?
Oh, yeah. Or like, just what about a lasso while we're at it?
What about the ghoul coming in to do some rescue roping?
Yeah, fuck yeah. One of my notes is just this beautiful tiger. Apparently I had a real moment with this tiger.
Wow.
It's just a big cat, you know?
It's a big cat.
I also ask, I understand that zookeepers know a lot about animals, but I feel like in this situation, Scully and Mulder know a lot about guns. So, like, maybe they should have the tranq guns since they're there. Because when I saw Willa, like, come around the corner with the tranq gun, I was like, does she know how to use that thing? Like, is she going to be okay, like, with a tiger? And the answer was no, actually. She was not okay.
Yep. The tiger leaps at her. Meacham shoots it just in time. And then, after his zippy little line about how tigers don't draw pictures, two spooky marimba or maybe xylophone notes are struck. And then we go to a commercial break.
The zoo is closed until further notice. I write in my notes, the board has withdrawn their funding while a beluga whale swims by. Why don't we have an underwater conference room, Jenny? I would like an underwater conference room.
Imagine if right now the backgrounds of our Zoom screens were just our respective whale tanks.
So cool.
But that would be different than a zoo because
No, yeah, it would be that we would actually be sitting below sea level. It would just be...
We would be in the ocean. They would be wild whales who just
Wild.
happen to like being, like, showing up at our Zooms.
Yeah, we would just put a little light on back there for them, and they would come and say hi. We could give them fish or whatever whales eat.
I think, well, depending on the whale, I think beluga whales eat fish. They're toothy whales, so I would imagine.
Perfect. I could have some seaweed ready for the ones that don't, you know?
Or some plankton.
Plankton. That's what
Some
I was
krill?
searching around deep. I was like, coral reef, barnacle. My brain was like trying so hard to find plankton, and I couldn't find it.
Will is out of a job. The animals are going to start getting shipped off to other zoos starting Monday. This is going to weaken Willa's position considerably in her lawsuit from the Malawi government. It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. And you know what? Mulder's like, hey, nothing left to lose. Let's just dig the fuck in.
Well, yeah, Mulder's like, hold my beer whilst I swing for the fences.
Have the results come in on the tiger?
Agent Scully just finished the test. The tiger had been pregnant, too.
It's impossible. There's no chance those animals could get pregnant. No way.
What if they've been artificially inseminated?
That's an extremely fine and complex process. I would have known.
Unless it was done somewhere else.
Where?
What do you know about alien abduction?
You're kidding me. You think that these animals were taken aboard some spaceship?
I don't know where they're being taken, but there's obviously some problem getting them back. Due to what is probably an astrological variation, a trouble with the time-space continuum. These animals that are being taken from locked cages are being returned roughly 2 miles west-southwest of the zoo.
Aliens impregnating zoo animals.
Yes, and harvesting the embryos.
Willa's like, why? Mulder's like, to make their own Noah's Ark, of course. I'm sure aliens are huge fans of the Bible. And they were like, this Noah guy, he's got some good ideas. There's some wiggly stuff in here, but this guy with the ark, he knows what's up.
I feel like in 2 to 3 episodes, I have learned that aliens are pro-choice and pro-conservation. I just am really, really feeling Team Alien at this point. They seem to know what the fuck is up, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea is that they're ahead of us.
Yeah. Well, being ahead of us could mean evil things too, but
No. Ahead of us, like they've transcended. Yeah, they've evolved past, concepts like profit and individualism.
Great. So this is when, Mulder makes the connection for Willa that he thinks Sophie's pregnant and they're afraid of the aliens coming for the baby. They go and they ask Sophie if she wants to leave and she just says light afraid. And then I believe that this woman who comes in to serve Willa is actually was the second choice for Willa because she is the gayest woman I've ever laid eyes upon.
Dude. I'm serving you with a court order to release a gorilla named Sophie into protective custody. Imagine you were an actor and you received your sides, as they say the biz. And this was your line.
I would line.
Do a cartwheel. I'm serving you with a court order to release a gorilla named Sophie.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot to work with.
Into protective custody. Over at Wow. Willa asks Kyle for help. She swallows her pride. She asks Kyle for help. We have this exchange that we talked about earlier. She's worried about poachers. And he's like, but they're going to put her on a preserve. And then she's like, but she's mine and I won't let her go.
Kyle's sticking the landing here. She does not belong to you. She is not your child.
Yeah.
I know, Jenny. But Aldrich is your child.
I know. That's the difference between Sophie and Aldrich. And she's like, well, couldn't you help her get into a private preserve in the United States? You know people. Why doesn't Willa know like the same people that Kyle would know?
I agree, especially because as we learned, they were lovers. They were roommates.
They once maybe even had a shared closet with all of these outfits hung side by side. Imagine.
100%. Kyle's like, oh, fuck, I really missed that vest. Okay,
but then she's like, trump card, Sophie is pregnant.
Oh, right.
Okay. So just something that, you know.
Mm-hmm. Scully says Scully's the one who uncovers the page 6 gossip that Kyle and Willow were an item at one point. And she says, I just do not believe Scully. She's like, I was looking for a pen and I found this article.
Yeah, fucking right, Scully.
Yeah,
you snoop. Just riffling through all the various news clippings in Willow's desk, trying to determine who she was romantically entwined with by who she was photographed with for the local paper. Right before that happens, Meacham is like forklifting animals around in their crates. And did you happen to see a skunk in an open air crate?
Yes, I did.
Were you scared? I was scared for everyone.
I know. You got to, especially because this is a high stress environment. It's a warehouse. That skunk is going to spray at any minute.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but then, oh no. Oh God, this is like so... I know that gorillas belong with gorillas and in the wild, but when Sophie is like freaking out in her... Okay, this is the thing, right? We don't know how old Sophie was when she like came to be with Willa. So, and like obviously Sophie did not have agency in this situation. So like her bond to Willa is like pure and we cannot find fault with it. And thus I feel... no weight on my shoulders as I watched this moment between them and got something in my eye. And then I had to look for something to get it out with at the bottom of my tissue box. It's very upsetting.
It is.
However, they got to where they are now, they are bonded. And the idea of them being taken away from each other is sad.
Especially in like a... I mean, it would be sad even if it was happening in a way that was good for Sophie, but this is decidedly not good. She's so scared. She's in this cage. It's just, it's awful.
She's getting repeatedly abducted by fucking aliens.
Yeah, it's just bad. It is heartbreaking, 100%. So
also, Kristin, I should just like pick really quickly a nit. Okay, aliens pro-choice, aliens. Conservationists, aliens, thieves of the unborn.
Yeah.
Stealing your babies. Maybe not cool, not good.
I should probably put that on the board as well.
Yeah,
you're right.
Put that on the board, please.
Okay. So Kyle's had like a change of heart and he wants to help. And so he goes looking for Willa louder than any man has ever looked for anything.
He's like,
Willa! Like he's just... And the fact that later this will be explained that Meacham was taken by surprise. I'm like, in what universe? This
he
man
may
was
as well have like a paint can on each foot.
Yeah, he's
just like Marlon Brandoing through the whole building.
I am now entering the warehouse. I am nearing the cage. Like, I just feel like he was very clear that he was in the space. But for whatever reason, Meacham is startled. Fucking cow prods him, and then all of the crates fall on top of him, and he is unalived, as they say on TikTok.
They do say that on TikTok.
Willow immediately mastermind criminal, lying. The
animals went crazy just like before, and Sophie was disappeared when I checked her cage, just like the tiger. Wow, so wild. But then Scully is like, Kyle, you asked Kyle for help. Kyle left you this note. Kyle helped you rescue Sophie originally. Scully whipping out Willa's diary. I found this while I was looking for a pen, and then I read it all to see if there was a pen in between any of the pages. Willa.
Yeah. She basically she nails Willa, and she sets it up in your favorite way that anything is ever set up, Jenny, where she's like, so did you do this? No? Oh, well, I have this proof. Oh, did you do this? No, I have this proof.
My favorite.
And then like Willa is so upset that she's like, I know, I'll tell her that her fucking partner's crazy. Why don't you ask Mulder? Maybe it was alien abduction. Scully's just like, yeah, no, it's every time. That's
we know. That's always on the board. Mulder's like, okay, Willa has to know where Sophie is because she's like not upset enough, basically. And Mulder's like, and I think she killed Kyle Lang because he knows what she's capable of. Whoa.
He says she'd do anything to protect that animal.
Oh.
Mulder is snooping around. Speaking of pens, he's using a pen to pick up the lock, not wanting to smudge any fingerprints on it, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees.
Do gorillas have fingerprints?
Huh? Oh. Yeah,
do gorillas have fingerprints?
I'm guessing yes while you Google.
Humans and gorillas are two of only a few animals that have individual fingerprints.
What are the other ones?
However, other animals have different identification markers that are unique to each individual, for example, no two zebras have the same stripes, and no two giant river otters have the same white markings on their chest.
Okay, fine, but you can't, like, what do you have to do? Fucking transfer a zebra print to see if, like, finger...
Okay, the only animal... Oh my god, you're gonna die. You're going to die.
I'm ready.
The only animals that have fingerprints are primates. So animals like humans, gorillas, orangutans, chimpanzees, bonobos, monkeys, etc. And koalas. Koala fingerprints are actually nearly identical to human fingerprints and have sometimes been confused with human prints.
Give me a show called Criminal Koala. You know what I mean? Just give it to me. I held a koala in Australia, a practice that will soon be also eliminated because it's just like not, it's like not cool for the koala to just like be passed to people.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about that until I was holding the koala, and then they told me that I might be one of the last people to ever hold a koala because it's not great for the koala. I was like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. Anyway, the koala shit on me.
And that's what you get. That's what you fucking get, Kristin.
I fucking deserved it. Flew all the way to Australia just to manhandle a koala like a fucking asshole, and I got shit on. So anyway, Scully comes in. Scully is just fucking on one. Mulder sees Meacham, goes to follow Meacham. Fine. Willa's in her room, and Scully walks in and immediately says, looks like you're in a hurry. I'm like, Scully, what are you doing? She's like fucking Murder, She Wrote in this episode. She found evidence that Kyle was hit with a cattle prod. Willa immediately gives up the whole game. Kyle surprised Ed. Ed took Sophie. She's in a building on the way to Boise.
You neglected to mention that what Willa is looking at when Scully comes in is a photo of Willa and Sophie kissing? ?
They are. They really chose like a romantic photo between.
It's a little too romantic for my taste.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So shocking that Ed and Willa have teamed up in this fashion, although we find out that she's paying him, so
yeah, I write in my notes, Mulder confronts Meacham and he says, I'm only doing what she paid me to do, followed by, I guess women really can't be the boss.
Okay. All right. When Mulder catches up with Ed, he's like, we're going to go to Sophie together right now. They get to where she's being held, but she's scared. She's throwing herself against the door. They go in, and Mulder is like shining the flashlight in like one corner of the room. He's not sweeping. He's not like doing like, this is so ineffective. It's like he doesn't want to see where the gorilla is so that Ed can drink her.
It's the worst flashlight ever used in the show.
Yeah, worst flashlight usage.
It's like
in the
1
series.
inch in diameter of light.
Yep.
Just scanning the room.
and just hold it in one place and don't move it around at all. Sophie jumps at Mulder. Meacham flees. Sophie gives Mulder a good bop, and then she does some signing before a bright light flashes and she disappears. The second loudest oncoming person in the episode, Dana Scully, rolls up yelling, "Mulder!"
Yeah.
And then they have an exchange.
Clack, Mulder?
Yeah.
Pokes him directly in his wound to wake him up. He's like,
He says they took Sophie. Scully says, "Who?" I say, "Them!"
Nice.
And Mulder's like, "I gotta talk to Willow right now. Quick, before I forget this sign that I just saw." And he shows Willow the sign that Sophie made before she went away. And Willow's like, "That doesn't make any sense."
Yeah, she says it means man save man. Deep.
Okay. This reminded me of, did you ever read Ishmael?
No.
Ishmael is about...
No, don't look it up. Just tell us.
No, I just want to make sure it was Ishmael and not Call Me Ishmael. Ishmael is about a man who meets a gorilla. A classic story of a man meets gorilla.
Okay.
Man meets, I think, telepathic philosopher gorilla who's trying to like impart wisdom.
Okay.
On the man.
Okay.
And I just feel like man save man is the rudimentary version of something Ishmael might have said to the narrator of the book.
Yeah, it's really deep, you know. The messaging. I mean, it's a real turn for Sophie too, because she didn't want them to take her baby, but and then she's like, "Well, I actually think they might be smarter than you guys after all."
So, do you take this for mankind? Get your shit together and save yourselves. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, human race.
I thought it was like man in the sky is saving man on the earth.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I thought because of his.
She wasn't saying man Mulder save mankind.
Oh, I didn't think so, but
no.
When we get to the monologue, that's where I took my interpretation from was Mulder's ending monologue.
Oh yeah.
Which I would love to just skip to, but unfortunately we have to at least mention that Sophie also.
No, I object. It didn't happen. You can't prove it, and it was a bad dream, actually. Okay, so what happens is Sophie gets hit by a car and dies, but then Mulder wakes up from the bad dream that he was having that happened.
Yeah.
And then he does this little voiceover while they drive out of town.
And actually, Sophie is flying first class to a preserve in Malawi.
Yeah. Actually, a private preserve in the United States where she can be visited frequently by her surrogate mother, Willa.
Perfect.
Okay, and then this is Mulder's voiceover. Willa Ambrose and Ed Meacham have been charged with manslaughter for the death of Kyle Lang. Sorry, I'm putting way too much emotive push into my reading. Let me try to Mulderify myself.
Oh, great.
And though the courts will rule on this matter, and justice will no doubt be served, the pall of a greater tragedy remains.
Wow, this is really good.
Thank you. The motives of the silent visitors who set these events in motion remain unclear. Could this be a judgment on a global state of extinction that has risen to 1,000 times its natural rate in this century? An act of alien conservation of animals we are driving hard toward oblivion? And if so, might it follow that our fate and existence could finally be dependent upon the conservatorship of an extraterrestrial race? Or in the simple words of a creature whose own future is uncertain, will man save man?
Don't you get my read from this? That was
yes,
brilliant,
I do.
Jenny.
I do. The thing is that when Mulder started doing this voiceover, I had the same reaction that I sometimes do when you talk, which is that I stop listening.
Great.
And then they drive past. You know how churches always have little signs out front?
I do.
They pass a church that has a little Bible verse on it that says, "Man has no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanities." Ecclesiastes 3:19.
I was really hoping that eventually you would say Ecclesiastes, you know?
Did I say something wrong?
No, it's just
you just wanted to hear Ecclesiastes. Always lovely to see an old friend like Ecclesiastes
it's a good
showing
word.
up.
It's a great word. Yeah, so
who is the smuggest bitch of this episode? I feel like cases could be made.
I think it's Kyle. And that this proves my point that a smug bitch can be a good bitch. You know what I mean? But
yes, okay. You're always saying that.
I am, because I'm a smug bitch and I believe myself to be a good bitch as well.
Okay.
So I nominate Kyle.
Okay. I thought you might nominate the dark side of that coin in this episode, Scully.
Scully has pissed me off. She really is a smug bitch. I can't deny it. She is a very, very, very smug bitch many times. Two smug bitches facing off, you know, you love to see it.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why Kyle got under her skin so much.
Yeah, that's true. Smug bitches do not like smug bitches.
Yes, and that's our podcast about a television show called The X-Files. I'm Jenny Owen Young's ? And when I'm not podcasting with Kristin, I'm making music. You can hear my latest album, Avalanche, wherever you stream music, or you can find it in its physical forms at your local independent record store or at jennyowenyoungs.com. Give me a shout on socials if you dare at Jenny Owen Youngs.
My name is Kristin Russo, and I have to pee so bad right now that I'm going to make this real quick. I love gay people so much. You can learn more about my work with LGBTQ communities at KristinNolene.com. You know how to spell it, God damn it.
Buffering or Rewatch Adventures on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at BufferingCast. Email us at hello@bufferingcast.com or write to the Crystal Ball at crystalball@bufferingcast.com.
You can support our work and help me, Kristin Russo, get a second toilet to patreon.com/bufferingcast.
Kristin, just use a bucket like the rest of us. This episode was produced by Kristin Russo, Jenny Owen Youngs, and LaToya Ferguson with support from our consultant, Mackenzie McDade. It was edited by John Mark Nelson. Until next time, the status of this X-File is climbing atop a stack of crates, waiting for a former lover to walk underneath.
Dark.
Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.